playing lacrosse, I was doing ROTC, and I had a really great time at school and I learned a lot. So that November I got an email from my dad telling me that I needed to learn some sort of technical skill if I wanted to do meaningful work. So naturally I went to Google and found a bunch of courses online that I could take, which was awesome. I was fascinated that I could get my computer to say hello world. So naturally I switched my major to computer science. But I ended up learning more about Microsoft Office than I did about building things. So I thought transferring schools would fix the problem. But I got some bad news in July that I didn't get into the schools that I wanted to. So I ended up having to send this text to my dad. And this was his response. And I really owe a lot to my parents for being really supportive in my decision to leave school. So in a frenzy in July, I was looking for a place where I could learn how to build real things. And I came across Starter School. And I decided that I should come here because I wouldn't learn just how to build things on the back end, learn how to code, but I would also learn how to design and to develop products, which I was really interested in. So phase 1 started on September 30th, and on the first day we did something called the Marshmallow Challenge. It's kind of a strange little game. You split up into teams and you try to build the tallest tower possible out of pasta and tape. And you have to balance a marshmallow on top at the end, and whoever has the tallest standing tower wins. And it seems like a strange exercise, but what most people do in the Marshmallow Challenge is that they talk it out. They delegate responsibilities, and they don't end up putting the marshmallow on top until the end. Usually the tower falls. And this really set the tone for the rest of the 9 months of Starter School. We'd be learning how to fail fast and make decisions quickly and take action instead of talking about things first. And because of this, I knew I'd come to the right place immediately on day 1. So for the next 3 months, we learned from this brilliant guy, Jeff Cohen. And we learned the technical skills that we needed to build the prototypes of the app ideas that were in our head. And recently, he said this in a blog post, and I think this teaching philosophy that he has is really special, and it's a lot different than any other teacher or professor that I've had. He's more concerned with leading us to self-sufficiency rather than teaching us facts. So, January 8th, in the wake of the polar vortex, we started phase 2. And Sandy became our design teacher. He was now our main instructor. And what he taught us was really important. He taught us how to think of our technology and our apps in a bigger context, and think about the users and the people that would interact with the things that we built. So I had worked on a few projects in the first quarter, but I wanted to sink my teeth into a harder problem. I was looking for a new problem to solve. And luckily, my dad had a problem for me to solve. A little bit about my dad. He's a lawyer that does mergers and acquisitions. He deals with early stage startups. And one of the things that he's seen is that founders are not really good at or concerned with keeping track of ownership in their company. Who has which slice of the pie, essentially. So what he's seen is a lot of spreadsheets. He has to deal with tons of version spreadsheets, tons of documents, and it's a mess, and he has to deal with this, and they pay for it. So for the past 6 months, I've been building a product called Cap Tracker to help solve this problem and make the process easier, both for a lawyer and his client, the founder of the company. So I learned that some problems are really tough to design for, especially when you're not an expert in the field you're trying to build a product for, which I had never done, obviously. So these are a few of the screens that I had worked on over the course of the past 6 months. And I really got comfortable with knowing that not everything I was going to build is pretty. I learned that ugly is going to be part of the process. So a big problem that went through my head is that, do I design this for lawyers? Do I design it for founders? Or do I try to find a middle ground? And this is something I've gotten a lot of feedback on over the past couple months. And what that's taught me is that you can't just keep your head down and build and not test and ask people for help and get advice from people who are in the industry. So this has also taught me that how important it is to have a process. So this is a brick wall, obviously. And Will Smith has a really great quote about building brick walls. He says, you don't set out to build the whole wall at first. You don't try to build the biggest, baddest wall. You say, I'm going to lay one brick as perfectly as I can, and eventually you'll have a wall. And I think this really sums up what Starter School is all about, because it's not about trying to solve all the world's problems. It's about solving what's close to you and what's important to you, and then seeing where you can go from there. So when I came to Starter School, I was really intimidated because everyone was older than me. I had just dropped out of college, and I'd never been in a situation where adults were going to be my peers. That was really scary to me. But I think the most important lesson I learned, or this epiphany that I had, was that adults are kind of just like kids in larger bodies. And that was really cool to find out coming here. So after Starter School, I'm going to be going home back to Pelham. I'm going to be continuing to work on Cab Tracker. I'm going to go hang out with my dogs. I miss them a lot. And I'm going to be freelancing in New York City. But hopefully I'll be back soon to Chicago. I love this place, and hopefully I can work here one day. Thank you.